Welcome back to Black Fathers Foundation Presents Foundation Conversations. Our topic today is New to This and True to This, a conversation about journeys towards fatherhood and beyond. My name is Barry J. Again, welcome back. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to be talking to some young fathers out there that are doing a damn thing. And to my folks that are listening in, I want some interaction from you guys today, but I'm reaching out to my senior dads. All right, so I'm gonna start off 30 plus dads and my 40 plus dads. As we talk to these young brothers today, I want you guys to kind of chime in and send us your one little tidbit of advice you would give to these young fathers. I'm going to start it off with the thing that I think was most beneficial to me learning. And I was a 40 plus dad. And I'm gonna tell you the worst thing to ever give me for my children was the snaps. Those pajamas with the snaps that went from the leg all the way up to the daggone sleeve. I told folks after my first, don't ever give me no more clothes with snaps. All right. That's just my number one piece of advice. Don't accept any clothes from snaps. I'm telling you, in the middle of the night, you're trying to get folks changed and you're trying to get the diaper off and everything else and them snaps, and you snap all the way up and you realize you three snaps off. So you got to pull them all the way back. That was the most frustrating thing. So my family knew, don't give me no clothes for my babies with snaps. Okay. That's my thing. All right. So as we keep going on, we want to love to hear from other fathers out there, some of their little tidbits. Some of you might be a little bit deeper. Some of you might have some more things like mine. We want to hear from y'all. All right. So let's get it started. First off, I want to introduce Khalid Jones. Let's bring him on here, brother. I want you to tell me your story. Tell me how old you are, how old your babies or baby, and tell me how long you've been doing this. Give me the rundown.
What's going on, Barry J? I'm Khalid Jones. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm 26. I had my son um, 2 years ago in 2018. He's about to be 2 in 2 days. So
December
yeah,
baby.
yeah,
Oh
December
man.
baby, Sagittarius, man. But yeah, it's been a great experience so far. Me and his mother, we've been holding it down in North Carolina. Solo dolo, so pretty good.
I got some decent weather down there, right?
That's all right. It's in the middle.
It's in the middle. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We had a little. We were expecting some snow in about 2 days here, so you just hang on down there, man. You don't have to worry about it down there in North Carolina. And our
Yeah.
second guest tonight is going to be Mr. Jamal Myrick. Jamal, how are you, brother? Break it down for me, man. You muted, brother. You muted.
I'm
You had a good
muted.
intro. Oh, there you go.
We've been in this pandemic for so long. You think by now, like everyone would know how to do like a mute and unmute. So good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Jamal J. Myrick. I'm hailing all the way from the sunny state of Southern California. Originally, I'm from Florida by way of New Jersey, but Florida is home. I'm a Southern boy by heart. And Barry J, thank you for giving us the opportunity to just speak. I'm super excited to be in y'all's presence right now. I believe you asked the question about how old am I? So I'm 32 years old, just turned 32, young 32. I had my daughter on literally a day after my birthday, so on October 15th. So Libras, if you're out there, shout out to the Libras. As far as the story goes, so for me, we actually like planned. So my wife and I have been planning for a child, and by God, the Lord has just blessed us with a beautiful baby girl, KJ. It's funny because all the way back in, I think, February, March, when we kind of first found out, I was like, oh, my daughter is not going to be born on October 9th. Like, we already have a connection. I was like, my daughter is going to either be born on my birthday or the day after. And we went to the delivery room the night of my birthday on October 14th. And, it's been a whirlwind, so to speak. So outside of being a father, I'm also service my community. I'm involved in a fraternity. I work full time at a college or a university out here in Southern California. So it's a lot of crazy things. An author, all kinds of stuff has been happening, but it's been a beautiful journey in the last 2 months. So my daughter will be 2 months tomorrow. And it's been a blessing, so to speak. It's been fantastic. So again, thank you for having me, Barry J. And I'm looking forward to some really great conversation and insight from everybody in the call. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So, all right, so you're 2 months old, man. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 2 months in the game.
How's your sleep habits?
It's
Newborn.
funny because I feel like I didn't really have too many sleep habits. So in my doctoral program, my wife and I, because she also finished her doctorate, so shout out to Dr. Tosh. So we actually would like go to bed really late, wake up really early, and it kind of feels like I'm back in my doctoral experience. And I would say that first week, that's where I was like, oh shoot, like that's when it hit me. I was like, oh damn, like I'm a real ass father, and I need to wake up. And so I think now we're finding our rhythm, right? So we know she sleeps okay at night, but sometimes she'll have a couple of days off. And yeah, like I feel like when I'm up with her, I'm trying to do some work, I'm trying to figure it out. But outside of that, I think it's been okay. Can't complain too much.
Okay, okay. Khalid, jump in here, brother. How's the experience been? You 2 years now, and I'm
Um,
sorry. Before you get started, uh, Jamal, you heard about me what I said about them snaps, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw me in the I was in the host box or in the backstage box. I was like, yes, don't ever get me snaps again. The zipper is like where it's at to me. I hate the snap. The bane of my
Whoever made them, I'm like, they need to be tortured for
yeah,
real. Them
yeah.
and Lego. You'll find out about Legos.
Uh,
Khalid, you
not
probably know
ready.
about Legos by now. Jump in there, Khalid. Tell me about the experiences, brother.
but yeah, my experience has been pretty good. He's about to turn two, like I said, hitting those terrible twos early. You know,
No, no,
it's been
no.
yeah, it's been a crazy experience. He's an electronic head, like these
Already?
kids these days already. I guess you would say he's smart, turbo genius is what his grandfather calls him. Um, he likes to, he likes his shows, Elmo, Sesame Street, Mickey Mouse, and things like that. But yeah, it's been a pretty good experience. We're learning and growing every day. You feel me?
Oh yeah,
'Cause
every day.
you gotta stay on them.
No, no, you can't let up. You cannot let up. Just so you know, just what oh man, just don't let up because if you let up off the accelerator a little bit, you lose momentum. Just speaking from my experiences, but and Jamal right now just take advantage of the fact that she just lays there. Enjoy that.
Look,
Enjoy that.
you gotta tell me twice. Like, oh
Enjoy.
man, like sometimes I'll be holding her. I'm like, wow, like there's gonna come a time when you don't want to deal with me no more. Oh no. And I'm like, don't grow up. Don't grow
Right,
up.
right, right. Slow down. I
Mm-hmm.
tell mine every day, hey, slow down. Okay, please.
That's
Mine
it.
just turned 5 and 6 and 5, and one just celebrated her birthday this past Saturday or earlier this past last week, and we had Elena come over, no, Alana. Oh, it's from Frozen. Who's Frozen? The girl with the Frozen hands.
Oh yeah. Healthy,
Yeah,
Yeah, I got a
healthy,
boy.
healthy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something.
You're gonna know all of them. Trust me, you gotta know all of them, both sides. It doesn't matter. But so explain to me. Now I heard you both say something about figuring out the ways, and did you have any right now? Are the ladies in your life, are they showing you the way, or you trying to figure things out on your own? How's that going? Let's start with you first, Khalid.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been in a relationship with the mother of my child for 10 years now.
Y'all
So
met when y'all was 12?
something like that. I guess I was in the teenage years. I was 16. You know. So yeah, we met back in a community band in Baltimore. So and then we both traveled down here in Greensboro, North Carolina, to go to school at North Carolina A&T State University. So yeah, it's crazy how everybody been saying, "Oh, when y'all gonna have a baby? When y'all gonna get married?" But you just gotta trust in the process. So I feel like we had a child at the right time. It took what 8 years. So it was very welcoming.
That's that. Look, look, look. Trust the process, man. Okay, don't let nobody talk you into nothing, out of nothing. Just say, trust the process. That's all I can say. I don't
Hmm.
dive too deep, but you keep doing what you're doing. All right.
Yes, sir.
Now, also, now, you didn't because you didn't tap into this. So who's help? So who showed you how to change the first diaper?
I think that just came natural. You feel me? Like,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not going to gas myself, but kids like me,
That's what's
I
up.
I
That's
know
what's
how
up.
to I know how to take care of business, take care of things. I don't need really any
Look,
guide.
I'm gonna give you that one because I actually had to watch my wife. I was like, all right, baby, let me watch you. I was like this. I was like, I was studying dissertation or something. I was like, okay, okay, all right, got to watch the pot. Okay, got it. And I watched her once, and after that, I was like, yeah, I got this. So I understand exactly what you mean because one of the most important things to me as a father was I never wanted anyone, especially their mother, to say, well, I do everything. I got this. I was happy to be able to say that. Now, what about you, Jamal? Now, did you know how to change a diaper, or you had to figure it out?
Man, I would say it's a little bit of everything. So for me, I actually grew up with three siblings, and I'm the oldest. So it just took one other time for me to remember, like, oh, shoot, that's how you do it. Like it's been so long since I had to change a diaper. So it was super helpful that, like my wife, it was also been some time for her too. So we just kind of learned together. To your point about like some of the women, if you will, that's been kind of around to help. So we actually got a doula. If you don't know, a doula is someone to kind of help the mother on the journey to the pregnancy, to the delivery. And she was super helpful. And we were really intentional about getting a Black doula. So, the Black mortality rates and everything. I remember my wife and I had a real serious conversation, like, what happens if I have to choose, right? And so we had to get a doula and to help to make sure that we were prepared, not necessarily for the having a child portion, but everything in between to get to that stage. So in terms of Black women that have been super supportive, I would definitely say our doula first and foremost, my mother-in-law, my mom, and we have a village. So my wife is also in a sorority, so that's also helpful. I'm in a fraternity, so my fraternity brothers, their wives have also been helpful. So we've really cultivated a pretty dope village, both fraternity, sororities, as well as folks that have been with us for years. And so my wife and I, we've been together for 8 years total, 4 years married, and it's been great to kind of see all the dope people in our lives kind of step up and say, hey, like, let me love on you, let me shower you, let me help you. And that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn for myself because I'm someone that, hey, I can just do it, no worries. But to really get back to the roots of what a Black family is, like our doula was telling us, like when in Africa, in different parts of Africa, the family would just pour into the mom and into the father as well as the child and just kind of kick back. And so it was super helpful to do the same and have everyone else kind of support us in a way that didn't feel too encroaching, right? It's like, oh, I don't want, no, like, please help. You want to send food? Cool. You want to show me how to do something? I'm all ears. And I think that's been super helpful for us on our journey to get to where we are now.
That's excellent, man. And so this is gonna. I'm gonna take it a little bit further because we are in 2020. How has COVID affected your home life? Because you talk about that community. Not everybody, is in those bubbles together. So that I know for us, our community shrunk. It wasn't that huge, so it shrunk just to meet my wife and me and her. So we've been with our babies for 9 months. I think it was one day that my brother was able to take them because it was like 24 hours we were away from them, and it was like, oh man, it's been 8 months since we haven't been around our babies. It's crazy. So how has COVID affected your lifestyles? Let me start with you first, Khalid.
Um, it's pretty much been the same for me, I'm gonna say, because I'm a full-time employee, you feel me, at FedEx. So I hold it down for the bills. I have my girl working full-time mother, stay-at-home mom, and they be at the house chilling. So I just have to make sure I'm protected when I'm out delivering packages every day, and I'll come home strong.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You stay safe out there, brother, for real.
Yeah. Mhm.
And Jamal,
Yeah, so I think for us, it has been an adjustment. So for us, like I mentioned, I'm an administrator at a university, and so is she. And so when everything kind of shut down, it was like, oh shoot, we're not on campus right now, and we need to figure out all this stuff. So I would say in the beginning of COVID-19, a lot of our home life kind of focused on trying to get adjusted for work. We also both lead teams, and so making sure like our team is good and making sure the work stuff is okay. But also at the same time, you have folks that family and friends that are like, hey, we want to, is everything okay? We want to do like a baby shower. And it's like, so I think a lot of the big milestones that normally would take place during BC, so before COVID experiences in terms of pregnancy, we didn't really have it, or we had to have like an adjusted type of thing. So I think about how some folks are like, oh, do you want to have a Zoom, do you want to have a Zoom baby shower? And we're like, nah, like we're cool. And the reason why is because my wife and I spend all day on Zoom, right? Like, and folks just didn't really understand that. We're like, we already spend a lot of time on Zoom. Don't really want to do it because we already do it like for 4 or 5 hours at a time. But I think one of the cool things about this whole entire journey, and I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else, right? So I'm happy that it's my wife and I, because we've also got the opportunity to see each other work, and it's super cool. Like I've told her so many times, like, it's cool for me to watch her give somebody smoke professionally, right? Like it does something for me. I'm like, okay, that's my wife. She out here stunning on these people, and
she ain't taking it from nobody.
yeah, like it's super cool to watch her do all of this while pregnant, while servicing her community, while also putting like I say pulling people's feet to the fire. It's super cool to watch her do it, and we've been able to serve as support for one another, both professionally and personally. And like as the dates got closer, and then she went on maternity leave, we made sure that, hey, we're making sure our home is good and making sure that she's okay and she has what she needs. And so honestly, I know that COVID has been terrible for us and for everyone in different parts. And I would also say it's been a blessing, because the pains that I think she would normally have, being pregnant, driving to work, walking the hills and all of that, we didn't have to worry about all of that. And so we really kind of buckled down to like get to know each other and have some of those challenging conversations about parenthood. Because, it's one thing to say, I'm gonna do all these things as a parent. It's another thing when the baby's like right there, right? And I'm holding the child. And so I think for us, it's been an adjustment in the beginning, but as time has kind of gone on, getting an opportunity to learn each other, support one another, and also getting the opportunity to watch our daughter grow up. Like, I think for me, that's kind of been one of the dopest things. Like, yes, it's only been 2 months, but I literally can tell the difference. Like people say, you don't really understand the value of time until you have a child. And now I understand it, because I see where she was on October 15th and I see where she's at tomorrow. And then I'm like, wow, like you're really growing up before my eyes. And I think for both of us, that I don't know if we would have had that opportunity to see it and like notice these little things if we were back at work full time and like on campus. So
I'm loving the fact that I have two different perspectives here. And I look and see where, Khalid, you're working full time and your lady stays at home full time mom. Jamal, you guys are both on Zoom together. Talk to me about being on and off duty. So, Khalid, I'm gonna go with you first. You get home, you've been working, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 hour shift. Are you straight into daddy mode when you hit the door, or you get some leeway time?
So of course, as soon as I get home, I gotta work with. I got, I gotta greet my son. I gotta greet my family when I get home. They've been home all day. They really be waiting by the door. So I come in and it's like, "What's up, Joe?" Yeah, it's like, "What's up, Jelani?" He's happy to see me. He's like, "Hi, Daddy," and all types of things. We kind of all get settled. It's usually his nap time when I get home. So yeah, like that's when I get a chance to eat, maybe take a nap. So once he gets up, then it's like I'm forced to get up, and we are all up being a family for the rest of the evening. So yeah, that's pretty much how that goes.
Hey, what about you, Paul? Because both of y'all are on Zoom. I mean, like it's a lot. How do you guys break that up?
Yeah, so I think now because she's on maternity leave, and so that's been a blessing in disguise. So the cool thing is working at home. I can just take time, and so if I'm in between meetings or something along those lines, I'm with my wife and my child, right? And then we're talking, or I'm playing with her, or we're just connecting with each other, because a lot of times she'll be asleep. This is that prime time where sleep is, go ahead and sleep, baby, it's all right. And so a lot of times we try to make time in between meetings during the day, and then at night it's the three of us. And so we try to limit the distractions, or we try to limit the distractions and really try to pour into each other and pour into our daughter. So I give her bath, she gets fed, then I'm reading to her, and then we're reading like 2 or 3 books at a time sometimes. And a lot of the literature that we're reading, it's all focused on Black folks, and so that's also something that we're really intentional about. And then she just kind of goes to sleep, and my wife and I, we kind of kick it, have our alone time, watch a show or two, and then be ready for it around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night. She gets back up, we put her right back to sleep, and knock out.
So I want to go back to both of you, because you said something, and it sounds like you both have your routines down. So I want to know if that was a system that was kind of put into place, or just kind of happened, kind of fell into place. Like, I know for me, for our home, we had to work and kind of put a plan together. But I've talked to other folks. They would just look at us and all of a sudden we just started getting to this groove. I don't know, we've been planning. So what happened with you guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that pretty much sums up my life. It's kind of a mix of both because we have a plan. Like I say, he has a certain nap time, a certain time that he eats every day, and it's just like, we can get carried away by just chilling, going out to the store, maybe, like things, mess up the schedule. But it's always the same. He goes to bed around the same time. We try to push for that, unless he skips naps and stays up all night. So sometimes it's early, sometimes it's late. Like, you just got to go with the flow.
What about you?
I would say it was a mixture of both. So for us, that's where our doula kind of helped us out. So we are the type that, we'll have a schedule. We kind of know in our professional and our personal lives, like I can tell you what I'm doing on, we'll say April 1st, 2021, right, at 10 a.m. And I think with our daughter, we quickly learned that isn't going to work with her. You can have, you can have all the coolest plans in the world, but what did they say? Like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? And so for us, we've been very agile and very adaptable, right, to her as much as we can. And so, early on, we're like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And we figured out, like, our daughter doesn't necessarily like those things, or, okay, she's not really rocking with, feeding at this time. She's going to eat when she wants to eat. She's going to sleep when she wants to sleep. Like, we can try to do the sleep training and all of that, but I don't feel as though that that's for our daughter, right? And so we've been pretty flexible in terms of, all right, well, this didn't work. All right, let's try this. And all right, this didn't work out like our doula said, so maybe we can do this. And just being adaptable. And I think this is also where, communication is key too with both of us. And so if my wife is like tired, I'm like, all right, I got it. Or if I'm tired or I'm busy, she'll kind of take our daughter and kind of do whatever she needs to do. And so I think, again, for us, being flexible and being almost in alignment as much as we can with our needs and figuring out like, all right, like I'm really, really tired. So, okay, I'll pick the night shift up and I'll handle her and I'll do the 5 to like 7 in the morning, just so you can kind of get some rest. Or sometimes I'll like tell my wife, hey, like I'll handle her, go ahead and get some rest. Like your mom needs to sleep. I'll tell that to my daughter. And so being flexible and being adaptable as much as possible has been great for us.
Man, y'all getting some brownie points on this, man. And y'all get to re-show this, man. Y'all are like saying all the right things. I'm just saying. Just saying.
I got eyes in the back of the room anyway.
Look, look,
hey, man, it's black fathers, man. We black fathers right now.
Look, yeah, it's all right.
All right, so I got it. Like, this is a question that it always becomes a controversial thing when it happens to someone else. Did either one of your ladies or your wives breastfeed your child?
Yeah, mine's did.
Yeah.
Did she do it in public?
Yeah. It kind of just was free about it. Not really free about it. Of course, it was sometimes covered, but yeah, we was pretty much comfortable with it.
Restaurants, pre-COVID, that is. And you can't answer that right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, well, we
pre-COVID
made a pretty big commitment to like stay home as much as possible. So no public, but yeah, my wife is definitely breastfeeding and nursing that way.
So the number one thing is my wife became a master at the little shroud thing where she would just basically have the thing that went over her neck and it covered her. I mean, she was we were in church one time and I happened to look over and was like, whoa, how'd you do that? She was amazing with that. But I also remember watching what was that show called? What Would You Do? Where people were kind of shamed on doing it. And I know our community is a little weird. Our Black community is a little weird when it comes to breastfeeding, especially in public. And all the research says it's the best thing for the baby. Matter of fact, you have more research that says that babies are smarter, they're stronger. But for some reason, we just have a problem with just seeing it. We have a problem with our mothers doing this, and it obviously didn't sound like you guys had a problem with it. But how comfortable? Did you ever have any issues with something like that? And Khalid, you can only answer this right now because Jamal, you stuck in the house, dog, so you can't even answer.
I understand, the Black community having a problem with it, but I think us being up here around our college friends, they all, had a respect for us. It was nothing. I think that's what it is. Being around people that like, it's okay. We didn't. I can't really.
So it didn't affect you then?
Yeah, it didn't really. Yeah, I wouldn't say we haven't had any experience where anybody had a problem with it. So
okay, good. I love to hear that. It means things are changing, things are getting better. So I'm okay with that. And that kind of leads me into something else. So did you, and I'm asking each one of you, have an example of what you thought fathers should be like? Did someone kind of show you a way, or are either of you working off of, I know what I'm not going to do?
Can I start that? Is that okay?
Go ahead. Let me get on that one, man. Let me get on that.
It's because it's interesting, and I've been sharing a lot about my kind of journey and my learning during this experience. And so I mentioned, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier that I'm an author, so I wrote a book, Dear Black Dad: Vision for Your Journey to Fatherhood, and I write in the book. So very early on, so this was probably March, April, yeah, March, April. So this is like right when everything hit. I felt this pressure, right? Like we were having appointments and I couldn't go into the room, right? So this kind of goes back to something you had asked a little bit earlier, Barry, about, you know, being pregnant and all of this during COVID. So I couldn't go into the room. I had to wait first in the waiting room. And then as COVID kind of kept going on, then I had to be outside. So they would tell me, no, you need to go outside. So I missed the whole the first ultrasound and like the movement. Like I missed all of that. And luckily my wife ended up getting like this tool in with our doula that allowed me to like hear my daughter's heartbeat all the way in, I think, September or August. So I felt this pressure, like, man, I'm not being a good father. I'm not being a good, I need to be there. But I quickly realized, because I also go to therapy. So I've been going to therapy for 4 years. And so going into a therapy session, and I read this book called The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. And I learned very quickly that the reason why I felt this pressure was because I was trying not to be my father. And so like my father wasn't present. And so I'm like, I need to be better than him. I need to be better than him. I need to, you know, not do what he did. And going to therapy, reading this book and kind of documenting my own journey and listening to some of the fathers in the book, I quickly learned that I shouldn't want to, like me just being, I should just be a good father because I want to be a good father, not because my dad wasn't present or any of that, right? Like that's me operating out of trauma, not operating out of joy. And so for me, I've really tried to make concerted efforts to relieve that pressure and making sure that, hey, I didn't have a positive model, but I do have models in my life of good fathers. I think about my grandfather who raised multiple children. So I'm like pulling from his well. I'm also thinking about my fraternity brothers. I'm pulling from their well and like having these conversations with them. And I look to them now as like, wow, this is my model, right? Like, yeah, everyone's going to tell me something, but I don't have to take everything. And also everything isn't going to work for me and my family. And so just being cognizant of that has been super helpful for me too. But overall, I would say in the very beginning, I was operating from, I don't want to be like him, to I'm going to be what my daughter needs, and I'm going to be what my family needs. And I'm going to make sure that I'm doing my part because I want to be a good father, because I want to be a great husband. So.
Well, I think you know, Jamal made a very good point, because that's basically what, you know, this is being a black father nowadays, I feel. But my experience, I had probably three different father figures that, you know, I witnessed. You know, one, my actual father, who divorced my mother when him and my mother divorced when we were young. But you know, we all he was still my father, you feel me? um he had five boys total, so I had nothing but brothers. So you know, he would always take us all in. You know, as we were young, I would always see my brothers. I would always have my father. um on the other hand, I had a stepfather who was, you know, the head of the household. You know, so I had my father that I get to chill with, hang out with, who basically showed us the world, you know, in certain ways. And I had my stepfather who was a disciplinary. So I guess I learned from both, and basically I see what I don't want to become. Like I don't want to be hard on my child, and at the same time I don't want to be lenient. Or you know, at a certain at one point, like my father, or when we was all teenagers, my father you know, he started to stray away, you know, not be around as much. And you know, he you know, he relied on us to, you know, be the adults, I guess, and communicate. So, I don't want my son to never be like, where's my father or whatever. And yeah, my third father figure is my girlfriend's father, which I witnessed. He was there holding it down for his family the whole time, a full on father since the time she was born. And yeah, like that's how I want, you know, that's how I want to be for my child. I want to always be there and, support my family. Cause that's the number one thing growing up. You gotta protect and provide.
I couldn't have said it better, man. All right, so you both made. I have a question for both of you because you both brought up communication. And how do you want your child to communicate with you? And I'm saying let's fast forward to age 16. What type of communication do you want to have with your child at the age of 16? And Jamal, I'm gonna go with you first, and Khalid, we're gonna come right behind him.
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because actually was thinking about that when I was holding her the other day. I was like, wow, like you're going to get older and you're going to have like a personality and you're going to tell me no. So I think for me at 16, I wanted to be a healthy communication. And what does that look like? So for me, it looks like someone that a young woman that can come to me and share like, hey, dad, like I'm struggling. Right. And she doesn't have to come from fear or because of trauma, because she knows like I'm going to listen and I'm going to challenge you. Right. Like I'm not going to just let you say, you're going to just do this decision. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push you to think. But I want it to be honest communication, authentic communication. Not, you don't need to curse at me. Right. Like I'm still your father, right? But I do want her to feel comfortable coming and talking to me about her relationship. I want her to be comfortable talking to me about where she's struggling emotionally, mentally, thinking about some of the conversations that I didn't get to have when I was coming up. Like I want her to be able to come to me without fear that, hey, my dad is going to judge me. Like my dad is really in my corner and he does have my best interest at heart at all times. Right. And so I want her to be able to have these open, honest conversations with me. And also, one of the things I've been learning is apologizing. Right. And so I don't think it's all on her to have open communication. So for me, like if I'm doing something wrong, or maybe I might have yelled or I don't know, hurt her in some way, being open and saying like, my bad, like I apologize. Like I don't recall that happening too many times in my own upbringing. And so making sure that I'm doing my part. And so if I'm expecting my daughter to come to me and talk to me, I want to also be able to share with her, of course, not everything, right? Like there still needs to be a boundary. I'm still your parent. But I also think it's beneficial that she hears how I'm thinking, or if she has questions that I'm not going to shy away from it. But if I'm not going to answer it, provide a why. Right. And I think so many times I've seen so many parents like, oh, just don't do that. Well, why? Like I remember that would be my thing. Well, why not do this thing? And being okay offering that. Right now, I'm 16 16 years from now, that might change. But that is my hope. That is what I would like my daughter to feel comfortable with, because to me, I'm the first man in her life. Right. I'm the first man that's teaching her these things. And so I want her to be comfortable coming to me. So if she does go out and get into a relationship or all of that, she's like, no, like my dad wouldn't accept this. I'm not going to accept it. And so I understand my role in her life, and I want to make sure that I'm being able to role model the proper way or the appropriate ways of communication for her, as well as with my wife, and she can see those things, and so she can take those pieces too.
Well said. All right, brother. Go ahead, Khalid.
But yeah, I didn't really grow up with communication from on my side of the family. So, as far as my mother and my father, we didn't share personal things, stories or beliefs, until maybe now because things are changing. But and Jasmine, her parents are very, you know, openly communicating. So I think we're kind of working towards being um open with our personal thoughts and beliefs and stuff. Like I want my child to know who I am, and I would love to know who they are, because I think, I guess that is trauma, because I feel like my parents don't know who I am, and they're starting to see it now, because um I'm starting to express myself to them more as I get older and stuff like that. So yeah, I just feel like it is important to have open communication with your child and with your family, like, or with anybody. Like, I feel like it's very important to be truthful and honest at all times.
Yo, I appreciate that, fellas. I mean, like that to me is a fierce conversation, because a lot of times, and I'm going back to kind of like Khalid, you said it first, you didn't have open conversations. And Jamal, you said it, where at some point it was do as I say. There is no why, and I'm dealing with a 5 and a 6 year old, and why comes with every why. And there have been times because I said so, but then I have to catch myself, apologize, and say, listen, daddy doesn't want you to do this because. Now, a lot of times their why is just a reaction to, I just want to do something, and then unless they want to answer, they just don't just want to do what they want to do. But I want to make sure my daughters are 16, 17, 18 years old, that they can come to me and tell me anything. So this is the kind of leading into my next thing, because, and again, I'm loving, I have both sides here. I have a father of a daughter and a father of a son. Knowing what you know now, would you do anything or have different type of conversations with your son or daughter when it comes to the opposite sex, knowing what you know now? And I'm gonna start with you first, Jamal.
I sometimes think about that. I think for me, knowing what I know now about the opposite gender, I'm gonna give her game. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make sure my daughter know what's up. Because I think it's important to. I mean, I'm here, right? Like, I'm here. I often joke with my wife, like, yeah, I ain't, take me to prom. I need her to take me to prom. I need her to, make sure like I'm there all the time. But I'll also, being realistic, that probably isn't going to happen, right? And so, in terms of conversations that I would have, I think time has changed so much from when I was a young person. I mean, I'm still a young person, but since I was like a teenager, since I was in middle school, times have changed, right? Like now we're talking about gender and sexuality and all these things. And so I think because I do that work, this diversity, equity, and inclusion work, I'm going to definitely approach it very differently than what I experienced or how conversations were happening when I was coming up. I think for me, and this is something that I learned like years ago, I'm gonna tell her 100% of the stuff, right? It's up to her to figure out which part she wants to take. So either she can take 100% of what I say, 90, 60%, what have you. My goal and my desire is like, hey, at least I told you, right? I'm telling you, here's the game. Here's kind of what it is. Here's what it looks like. What you do with that information, that's you. And I'm going to respect. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to be like, ugh. But I'm going to make sure that I'm my wife and I are developing a woman that can think for herself and make informed decisions. And that's my ultimate desire is like, I want to give you the information so you can make an informed decision on how you want to maneuver. And I'm gonna give you the whole game plan. I'm gonna give you the whole entire game plan because I was there. And whatever you do with it, that's on you. But at least you can say like, all right, I know the decision, or I feel confident in the decision that I made.
Khalid.
All right, for one, I'm gonna start off with he can't be too fast. You got to stay protected out here. I don't want no teenage father son because I've seen it before. And it's not a good look. I don't want to be the savior for that. And because I'm always have my child's back. So as far as the opposite sex, I just want him to find a female. Of course, always wait for the one. There's always the one out there. I would like him to find a female that supports him and 100%. Like that's what it's all about. Somebody that you can work with, at all times, like no matter what it is. A best friend, like, that's what you need to look for in a female in a relationship. Um as far what else I was gonna say? I'd say maybe stay single for a while, enjoy your manhood. I'm 26, been tied down since I was 16. It's fathers out there that's struggling, but everybody has their own experience, so I want him to have his own experience, but especially treat her like a lady. Always have that charm. Treat her like a lady. Like I've always felt like I've done right by females in my life. I've never been a heartbreaker or nothing like that.
I'm gonna step in here because I know one of the first things I told my wife was, especially after having two girls back to back, that they will both have my man card. So they will know the second they feel like somebody's trying to kick some game to them. I'm actually waiting. I can see it in my mind. Me sitting on the couch and one of my daughters comes, hey, Dad, he tried to tell me he loved me, and we all just sit there and laugh, because I've hipped her to the game. I've given her all, and you both have alluded to saying like passing on your knowledge to your children. And the one thing that really changed with me having daughters was how men are very good at compartmentalizing. We can basically say, okay, this thought goes here, and I'm just going to put it over here. And I will be the first to admit, the second I had girls, I it messed me up. It messed me up. There were certain things that I might have, certain conversations I couldn't even have anymore. Nah, man, I can't mess with y'all no more. That's somebody's baby girl right there. And it messes you up to the point where I couldn't compartmentalize that. That's somebody's daughter. That could be my girl right there. So I know I will give them every single piece of experience that I could possibly pass on, but they have to be willing to take it. I know I can't protect them from everything. The first heartbreak, and somebody, Jamal said you wanted to go to the prom with him. I get it. I was like, I drive. Like my son, I drove for his prom. I drove it, and I drove in, got the big Navigator truck, took him in his date, I go at it. But I just know he was gonna get back safely. That was my thing, and that's my son. And I look at it now and see that we're on a cusp of something, the Me Too movement. We are looking at sexuality different, men and women. So my last question to you as we close this out, would any of your conversations with your child change if they were the opposite sex? Khalid, I'm gonna go with you first.
You don't mean sexual orientation, right? You just mean the opposite sex. Like if I had a girl, you were muted.
Yeah.
My bad. Would any of your conversations change?
If I had a girl,
Yeah, if you
you
had
were
a girl.
saying,
Hmm.
um, of course they would change. I don't know what they would change to now, but I can't imagine having a girl because it's like for a boy, I try not to, my girl she always said he's a boy, let him play, but I'm always making sure no one gets hurt. And but I do understand he's a boy, so it's like, all right, he get hurt, he get thrown around, I rough him, let's rough him up. But for a girl, I guess you wouldn't do all of that. But yeah, just show. I think I would show the same love, show the same affection. You know, I'm not afraid to kiss my son.
I don't know if you guys saw that picture of the guy who had his, I think he had like an 18-year-old son, and he was basically just laid up on him, fell asleep on him. And folks were like giving him the blues, like, man, I wouldn't let my son just lay up on me like that. And I'm like, why not? I mean, shoot, you let it, when he was 18 months, you did it. I mean, what's the difference? With you fall asleep on you, fall asleep on you. It's I don't see the big deal out of it. But, that comes from affection. And a lot of times, we as men have not been taught affection the proper way or shown it. Okay, so Jamal, you have a boy. Does your conversation change?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, not think, I know that my conversations would change for a variety of different reasons and not just focused on gender, sexuality. I think for me, so my wife and I talk about this a lot. And I know that these conversations are going to happen with my daughter about this idea about being a strong Black woman, right? And like how actually detrimental that can be, and making sure that, hey, like you're taking care of your wellness, you're doing the things that you need to do. And how a lot of times the world isn't going to be friendly to you because you're a Black woman, right? So my wife and I have already had these types of conversations with each other about like, what is this going to look like if I have a young boy? I think again the conversation will be in the same realm, but it'll look very different. And so you touched on, Barry, about affection and like love and like what does that actually mean as a male, right? Like what does that actually look like? What does that mean? And really trying to teach him different forms of masculinity and like what does healthy masculinity look like? Right. So I already know like those are some of the conversations that I'm going to have if I were to have a young boy. Because I think particularly for us as Black men, we're not taught these real key things that I think would help us live a lot longer, help us be a lot healthier, both mentally, physically, emotionally, and mentally, psychologically. I don't think we do those things a lot. And so really making sure that I'm prepping him like, yes, the conversation about being Black in America and being Black in the world, like, yes, boy and girl, I would have that conversation, but how I would have it and the markers for those conversations will look very different for my daughter compared to my son.
Understood. Jamal, you wrote a book. Tell me a little bit about your book, brother.
Yes. So I don't know if you can see it pop out. So Dear Black Dads, Wisdom for Your Journey to Fatherhood. Labor of Love is what I like to call it. So essentially it's a book of guidance, wisdom, advice from over 20 Black fathers from literally all different walks of life. So you might have a professor, you might have a music producer, and they're all coming together to kind of share different wisdom and stories about the Black fatherhood experience. And so you'll have some dads, thank you. You'll have some fathers who are talking about their experience with their mom or with the mother. And so, for example, one of the biggest things that stuck out to me is one of the fathers shared, whatever happens, you still treat the mother with respect. And I don't think a lot of times we talk about these different pieces, right? Like a lot of times like, oh, my baby mom, woo, but we're showing different perspectives and different narratives around Black fatherhood, because there's so much misinformation about the Black father, the Black dad, that I really wanted to make sure that I did my part, because when I was in the beginning of my journey, I didn't see a lot of books about being a Black dad, or what does fatherhood look like for a Black man, I see a lot for the moms and talk about pregnancy and all those pieces. But for me, it was important that I help change the conversation in my sphere of influence to make sure that I'm doing my part to help change the narrative. And so it's a short read. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes and Noble in the next month or so. You can get it on Audible. So it is available on Audible, and you can also order it on paperback. And all of those are on Amazon. And then also I have a book or a notebook. So the Dear Black Dad's notebook. So it's just a reflection journal that, for me, journaling has been a huge part of my experience just as a Black man growing up. And so I wanted to also offer that to other Black dads. Like, hey, you have a journal that you can write your notes and just kind of some of those late night thoughts if and when they arrive. Like, I know when I'm up with my daughter, my mind is going. Like, I created a whole curriculum, a course, when I was like up with my daughter at 4:30 in the morning. I like wrote it out and got it approved. And so that is my way of, again, changing the narrative about Black fatherhood, because if we don't, who will? Thank you.
I love that, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
all right.
you.
Keep that up. All right, folks, we want to thank you again for being part of Foundation Conversations. We have been talking with Dr. Jamal Myrick and also Khalid Jones, who are young fathers doing their thing, taking care of their children, or their son and daughters, 2 years old and 2 months old. Man, oh man. Whew, I'm glad I'm past that point, but like, look, more power to you, brothers. More power to you. You stay. Hey, get some sleep. And we're gonna.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure having you all, guys. Hold tight, and we're gonna close out.
All right. Y'all be easy out there.